Hello, my name is Cheryl Wilson. I'm an abstract artist, and this is the video 4 in the series of creating a body of work. And in this video, I'm going to be actually talking about the step after creating your artist statement for your body of work, and that is coming up with the sizes of the artwork you're going to create. If you're going to create on canvas, paper, then what the creations are going to look like, what are the tools you're going to use, if you're going to use a limited palette, if you're going to use a specific palette of color, what textures you might use, all those things you're going to capture. And I've shared with you before, I have a template out there. I put a link below to my PayUp account where I have this in a template in Excel and in PDF, whatever is easier for you. I do Excel in case you want to change it up a little bit, add your own flavor to it. But it just helps guide you in creating your body of work. Now, you can start a body of work by just jumping in and creating it. I've done that many times before, but I have found in order to stay focused on where I'm going, what I'm creating, what I want to convey as an artist, what I want the audience to see in my artwork, by having a title that I've researched, a artist statement that I've put a lot of time into, and then the artist statement leads into the inspiration of what I'm going to create in my body of work. They all flow together, and my body of work ends up being something that I feel is a true representation of why I wanted to create the body of work. Now, as I mentioned when I go into the video, that the sizes of your canvases, or whether they're paper, how many, it could dictate, for instance, if you're going to be applying to an art show and they've told you you have, this size wall, that's going to help you decide if you're going to have larger paintings, smaller paintings, a mixture. If you're going to do your solo show where you have a lot of room, if you're creating for an art gallery and your body of work is going to be smaller. Those are all parameters right up front that you should know. If you're just creating a body of work like I am that is very open, my idea of what I want to start with is a little bit in flux. I have an idea, but that could change as I become inspired. But I do share with you the tools that I want to put in there based off of my artist statement and some of the statements and things I want to say in my work. So that has helped me decide what tools. So we'll jump on over to my table. I am in my art studio this time. We'll jump over to the table and I'll show you how I get started on how to take the next step before we start creating our artwork. So let's hop over there. I'll see you there in a second. Hello, we are on video 4 actually, on creating a new body of work. The first one was just to talk about the different ideas of creating the body of work. I gave you 6 ideas and I picked one of them, and that's developing a concept that I'm passionate about. Now, the next video, I talked about the creating your title, how important it was for me in my art practice, I have found, to create a title. And I'm using the template, and I'll show it here, but I'll put it in the sideline here. And I do have a link to this on my PayUp for a very small price if it helps you. And it has helped me create my body of work and what I'm going to do. And here's mine, and I'm filling it out along the way. But on the title, we talked about how important it was to actually do research when you're coming up with your title, and how my title actually changed. It was Peace Underneath. And through just doing research, I realized that what I wanted to convey from what I wanted to say as an artist and what I wanted my audience to see in my work was really the opposite of peace. It was more of a what I was going through, which so I changed the title to Torn. I would not have done that had I not done a research on my thoughts, and I go into much more detail in that video on how you come up with some ideas. And then the third was writing your artist statement for this body of work. And I had some say they'd never done that before. I've been there. But the reason why I recommend this is it really does help take you into exactly what it is you want to create. It helps you focus on a deeper dive on exactly what you want your pieces of artwork to look like. And I shared my artist statement with everybody on the last video, but I'm going to say it here because it helps understand some of the ideas that I want to create into my art. And I have it written down, and I'm going to read it to you. Torn. Torn portrays the words, I am torn between three, one who was, and one who should be, and then there is me. My life has always been full of big ideas. I did not look at life with any bars of restraint. I just went forward and did. But one day those ideas were replaced with fear. At first they were small, then slowly they became noticeable, and there were days I awoke with fear. How did I get here? Aging gracefully takes courage. I am who I am in all my years. These fears come with aging. In my current stage of life, aging is an emotional transition, sometimes filled with uncertainty and even fear of the unknown. I am creating a series of artwork where my art and my current mindset intersect. Each piece in this body of work seeks to explore my current emotional energy through an artistic expression that is edgy and at times unconventional. Each piece of work is highly expressive and personal, with a focus on texture and layering to create depth and complexity in each piece. With influences from my transition in my lifestyle and the way I currently view my world, my work allows the opportunity for the audience to feel some depth of passion I feel. I paint each piece with their own personal verse of poetry. In this body of work, I've decided to evoke the feeling, do it afraid. My paintings are bold, aggressive, and at times outside the boundaries. Threaded throughout this body of work are bold strokes, torn canvases, textured layers, all to evoke the raw emotions back from the onlooker. Some pieces might be considered as breaking the rules, but so is the age determinants of health. With this changing approach to life, I'm sharing my emotions within my art in hopes you might feel my current life situation. I search for who I am today. Thoughts matter, no matter how irrational, they still need to be understood. Very deeper scars that are healed but not resolved. This stillness is loud, uncertainty is real. In the end, my faith heals. And I think it's important to reread our artist statement for the body of work that we're working on periodically to kind of bring us back into focus. And so what I did was, as I go through my template, the next is to, I'm going to go through 5, 6, and 7. And that's to decide on a size for the sizes of your canvases or paper or whatever you're going to do. Decide on your color palette, any tools you're going to use. And this, of course, will evolve as you go. as I went through my designs that I put in my journal here, thoughts and ideas evolved along with me, and that's going to happen. And it's going to happen when I start to create my artwork. At least that's what I hope, because I was in a certain mindset when I created these, and I've been thinking about them, but I also want the inspiration, and how I create abstracts is very intuitive. So I want that to come in as I go. So this part of the template, this part of what we're doing will evolve. And then I do some journal sketches. Now, this may not be the end all. This may not be exactly where my pieces end. But this is just some ideas that got me started. And there's going to be a lot more that is going to go into working with this. I like to use handmade tools. I like to use this tool here, and it's kind of like a, yeah, I guess you use it when you're tiling. I do a lot of handmade tools. Here's another tool that I made out of neofoam. But I do actually have a video on handmade tools. A lot of these are starting to get messed up because of the use of water, but I still love it because it's all going to be marks that are unique to me. Then there's other tools. This is something that you use to create a texture on the wall. This is something that can be used. It's like a circle, but it's going to be an odd, it's got a little, cut in here. I think that's used in plumbing. I want to throw in some cheesecloth and, make some different ideas with some severe texture. I want to throw in I love napkins, and this is one of my favorite pattern. I want to throw some of that into my work. I want to build texture with, this is raw canvas, and I've put like plaster of Paris, and there's a lot of different mediums, and this is really hard, but it's something I've been playing with, and I want to add that with like some like strings hanging from it. Here's a canvas that I did kind of as a prototype. Here's a piece of cardboard, like the thing that you get off a Starbucks cup. This is where I've torn the canvas, so I'm going to bring into that. And that's a very unconventional thing to do with your canvas, is to tear it. But I want to push this particular series a little further than I have before, because that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life. Some of the tools that I use are, here's a piece of, there's charcoal and graphite. Here's a piece of charcoal, and I have it in a little holder. It's a small piece. Here's some graphites. Here's two pieces of graphite. One's water soluble and one is soluble. So one's going to smear when you get it wet, one's not. Here's a stick that I want to use, and I've just collected all the things that I have in my mind in like a cup. Here's a woody. It's a woody crayon, which I love. I love using a palette knife, so I gathered that. Different catalysts. Here's a small one with the tip on it to drag paint through. It's rubbery in the end. Here's a toothbrush to splatter. Of course, a pencil. Love pencils. So I'm keeping all my utensils together. I don't know if you call them utensils, so that I can remember what it was that I thought I wanted to use. Then the color palette, which is somewhat evolving, I wanted to keep it very neutrals, but bring in a pop of color. So I just was playing with, here's like some of my charcoal down here, the smearing and non-smearing, but here's a black, here's titanium white, and you can use zinc white, which is transparent. There's different blacks. There's a Mars black. There's a regular black. There's different blacks. And as I go through the series in paint, I'll talk about the different blacks, but they can create different colors by mixing. Here's a Titan Buff, gold, and of course gray is a mixture. And here's some marks through the different texture marks through here. But here's an idea of just using black and white and the Titan Buff. This is just a sample of a couple colors that I can get, along with using my marking tools through them. And it's going to create the exactly what it is I want to create in my series here. Look how beautiful that looks. That's the gold with some black added to it. And so you can see, even if I wanted to add one more color, the amount of colors that you can get. So here's the iridescent gold, here's the high flow titanium buff, and I will use both the high flow and the jar paint, the thicker paint, because the textures that I want, even though this is a nice swath of paint, the textures that you get when you add your paint, see how much texture that gives you. Let me do it on this one so I can hold it up for you. You're going to want different textures. I mean, it's up to you, but I want different textures. I want this to be, see how beautiful that is raised? I mean, that's got a lot of texture to it, as opposed to a very flat. So these are all things that you're going to bring with you. A lot of, I've talked about the what do I love list. A lot of that has been incorporated into my thoughts behind what I'm going to be doing here. So let me put, since I made a mark, and then I just started on some ideas and some sketches, and I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit closer so you can see this. All right, so I had in my mind that I was going to do 4 12 by 12 canvases and then 6 24 by 30. That could change. This is what like a 12 by 12 looks like, and I love the size. Of course, I brought the camera to a higher level, so that looks huge when I put it into the camera. But I also thought about including some artwork on paper. So I have an idea. I've written it down, but that is all something that is still in flux. So even though you have an idea so you can start to buy your supplies, I suggest keeping an open mind on some of the choices along the way, unless you have an art gallery that you are giving your work to, and that's why you're creating your body of work, or you have a show, you have a specific space, then that's going to give you the guidelines of the sizes of your paintings or what you want. You could stick with straight canvases. You could stick with straight canvases of a certain size or 2 sizes. That's going to be something that you're going to decide, but it is good to know that up front. So this is just some ideas of some sketches that I made based on some of the things that the marks I like. There's a lot of the underpainting. There's a lot in these underpaintings. It doesn't look like it, but there's a lot going to be going on in here. A lot of scrapes and scratches that are going to be happening. There's going to be a lot of maybe some texture from different gel mediums, a lot of different tonal values. I'm going to keep a lot of them the same. And then I want to have a focal point of a black mark, whether it is going to be the mark of a paint swatch or of a mark made with the cheesecloth, or a mark made with some of this material that I've hardened. And here's some more that I've decided on. Here I added some yellow. I think that's Darien yellow, and I've added some blue. But I'm not sure that I'm going to include that. I really like the look of the things having without this, so I may decide to change this to gold, or even this color, which is the gold and the black in there. So that's why those are some of the decisions, some of the things you can play with ahead of time to know what you might want to be adding. Here's, I always write the word emotion or emotional in my work. I like that word. I always like to use a white pencil on top of black or a dark color. I always have writing of some sort, different letters. I almost always, somewhere in my painting, even if it gets covered up, have 56, whether it's that like that or backwards. So a lot of times you'll see where it's partially covered up after I get going, but I always start with the 56. Here's just some writing, whether that will be writing that my poem that I shared with you. I could type that up and put that in there. On this one, I have string. I thought that would give it a nice texture. So, with like a knot here. So that's just an idea. And then these are some paper pieces I thought about painting. So I want to do a lot of staining. So maybe stain it with, a lot of water, and then stain it with my high flows, or maybe even bring some inks in, or acrylic inks in that are of the same colors. So this is just a start, but this is where you want to take as your next steps, is decide on your sizes of your canvases, or if you're going to do paper. Again, mine is in flux because I'm doing this for me. It may depend upon the venue of where you're going to be showing your work. Decide on the color palette. A lot goes into that. In fact, I typed that up a couple times. That is not the final. Here's a more updated version where I've added more, where I've added my handmade tools, my ripped canvas, my cheesecloth, cardboard. I thought about taking some cardboard and having different sizes of cardboard, and different sizes of different heights, having some type of depth that way. Here's just a flat one. So that's an idea that I've written down, including all my handmade tools. Of course, my go-to, I always use a rigger brush in my work. I do it with I use a lot of the high flow. So this will be things that you'll see when I do the paintings. And I may show some for next week and some the next week. I don't know how many I'll get done every week. But that is the next steps. And this is just ideas. Again, as an artist, a lot of this is open to how you create, what is best for you as a creator, and what you want to have in your. This is all up to you. As the artist, you are the author of how you are going to be creating your body of work. So I may suggest some of these ideas and things for you. Totally up to you on how much of the template you want to pull into your particular series here, but it's something that keeps us as artists focused on what we're doing. It tends to help so we don't go way off the way off course. And I've done this before where I'm working on a body of work and then my mind gets excited and I get inspired by something else and I get pulled off. And then my body of work takes a different direction. And I know now that having my artist statement and the work I put into my title and knowing the direction I want to go has helped bring me back into what I want, my body of work, what I want it to end up looking like. So I hope this has helped, and I will see you in the next video.